Yes.
Perfect. So we want to welcome you warmly to this effective outreach training today that we give. My name is Lena. I'm from Austria, Vienna in Europe, and my dear colleague Lea from the Netherlands will present with me today. We are
Hello.
really excited and we want to start right away. So let's look at the table of contents for today. So first of all, we want to understand people, the key to effective communication. Then we want to focus on our strongest tool, which is the Socratic method. Then we look into conversation management in street outreach, specifically in the Safe Square. We will discuss the inner attitude and conversation atmosphere that is important. Then we'll look at body language, dealing with objections. We'll have a little look into how to deal with family and friends. We'll also look at the 100 Cafe campaign, which is really exciting. At the end, we will try to summarize everything for you. And at the very end, there's also time for Q&A. So if you want, you can already during the presentation put some questions in the formats, but we will try to respond to everything right after the presentation. Okay, let's dive right in. First things first, we want to make sure to tell you that we do advocate for a clear vegan message with Animal Safe Movement while using a love-based approach. And I think this presentation is a beautiful way to show the love-based approach of the Animal Safe Movement as well. And yeah, we're really excited to show you how it just finds its way everywhere you go when you do outreach, when you talk to people. Yeah, and before we dive right into the details, we'd like to share a few key ideas that can help you guide meaningful and effective conversations about veganism. So vegan advocacy means being informed, compassionate, and also patient. So every conversation we have is an opportunity to plant a seed. And sometimes we can see change immediately and it's amazing, but sometimes it happens also gradually. So no matter what, our efforts help move the world into a more compassionate direction. And we'll just try to meet people where they are. So their concerns and motivations are personal. And by understanding them, we can provide better support for them. Instead of, simply telling them what to do, we can offer tools and inspiration to help them to take the next step themselves. And through a combination of empathy and education and also practical support, we can then inspire more people to make compassionate choices, paving the way for a vegan future. So we want to encourage you. Advocacy is a skill, and like any skill, practice makes masters. So the more we engage in conversations, the more confident and effective we become. And really, every interaction is a chance to learn and improve. So let's be courageous and keep going all together. Again, the more we practice, the more confident we become in our conversations. Okay, the importance of communication in outreach. So, of course, what we say is really important. I don't have to tell you. But how we say it often makes the crucial difference. So, our body language, our tone of voice, and our facial expressions influence how our message is received. So, by communicating in an open and inviting way, we can create an atmosphere where genuine conversations can take place. And later, we will take a closer look at body language in this presentation and its impact, but that we wanted already to see at the very beginning.
I'll take over. Thank you so much, Lena. So understanding people, key to effective communication. A good conversation begins with truly understanding the other person. And when we recognize what moves someone and how they communicate, we can respond to each other much more effectively and purposefully. And let's look at understanding people a little bit more. To communicate effectively with people, it's helpful to anticipate possible questions and objections in advance. And this is what we call anticipating. When we're prepared, we can respond more calmly and address any concerns the other person might have directly. At the same time, it's really important that we adapt because not everybody communicates in the same way. People have different values, needs, and communication styles, and by recognizing these, we can speak with them more effectively. So different people require different approaches. For instance, you have analytical people that want more facts and evidence, and they are often more convinced by scientific studies or logical arguments. And an example of that is studies show that a plant-based diet can reduce the risk of heart disease. You have also affirmation-seeking individuals. They need more validation. They want to acknowledge their efforts. So you can build a positive connection by saying something like, it's great that you're looking into health. That's an important step. Or it's really good that you look into how animals feel and think. That's a really good way to approach them. You have control-oriented people, and they really want to steer the conversation and make their own decisions instead of somebody pushing something on them. So if you actively involve these people, that's by saying like, yeah, you're right, it's a big change. How do you think it could work best for you? Or how do you think you can look more into veganism or animal rights? And then there's also security-driven people, and they prefer harmony, and they don't often express their concerns directly. So for them, focusing on the positive effects of veganism can help. So letting them know that they're really doing something good for the animals, and that they're can be in line with their values, and really help them seek that positive thing. And by actively listening and asking thoughtful questions, we can recognize who we're speaking to. So it's really important to ask people questions to figure out which type they are, and then we can adjust our conversation accordingly. It not only makes our communication much more active, but it's also more enjoyable for both sides, because we want to have a meaningful conversation. And it's nice when a conversation is just more friendly. We don't want to point out all the bad things people do. Again, we are a love-based organization, and this can help. Yes, I think we can go to the next. Oh, sorry. So personalize your message. This goes to the slide before. Every person has different values and concerns, and it helps to choose phrases that reflect their interests. Some examples for that is, I see that justice is important to you. Do you believe that this principle should only apply to humans, or should it also be relevant for animals? And it's, sorry, can you hear? I think my coffee machine is, oh, you didn't hear, sorry. The other example is, from what you've told me, I can really tell you care about animals. Do you see the difference between a dog and a pig? If so, what is exactly the difference? And we should share information that interests the person and it captures their attention or is important to them. Another example of that is, earlier you mentioned that you oppose animal cruelty. What are your thoughts on the fact that millions of animals in the dairy and egg industries suffer throughout their lives? The focus is really on linking veganism to their personal, to that person's values, and showing that their principles should align, with their values. And that every animal deserves a life free from animal suffering. That should be the conclusion then. Another example is, many people fight for justice, for human rights, environmental protection. What do you think? Should our compassion also include non-human animals? So those are good questions that you can ask a person to make them think a little bit more, and adjust to every person. our goal is not to win a debate. And this is a very important one, because we're not there to win an argument. We are out there on the streets to really engage with people and have good conversations, and to encourage people to reflect on their own values and choices. So in a discussion, you usually have opinions that clash, and it can cause other person to withdraw or become defensive. But if instead we ask questions, that can help challenge certain assumptions. So when someone thinks about what an ethical issue, about an ethical issue of their own, the chances are really much higher that that becomes a genuine conversation. It's also really important to understand the other person's perspective. In their world, carnivore world, that behavior makes sense, just as veganism makes sense to us. Like, for them, that's their life. So it's really important that our conversation can serve as a bridge between the two viewpoints and allowing other people to discover new perspectives. But it's important to keep in mind that for them, it might be a completely different world. And that can help you have a little bit more empathy and understanding. They are not our enemy. We just want to bring them in and lend them a hand, and hopefully make them see how important this is to consider these animals' rights and lives. Also very important is to avoid monologues. Sometimes in outreach, you can fall into the trap of keep bringing up facts or telling, or you're passionate about your outreach, so everything that's happening on the screen, you just want to tell about the animals, but really make sure that you're sharing knowledge without dominating. And it's really, an outreach conversation is much more effective when it feels like there's a mutual exchange rather than like a one-sided lecture. And of course, it's important to share knowledge, but we should not overwhelm people or bombard them with a flood of arguments. But we really aim to offer insights and engage them in a conversation. At the same time, we also should remember that not everyone will directly express what's really on their minds. Some maybe not or agree, but they might still have doubts. So it's really important to create that open atmosphere where people can feel like they're safe and that they can speak to you and not have to agree with you, so they can get away from you as soon as possible, or maybe they're afraid to bring up any concerns because maybe they have valid concerns in their minds. Maybe somebody is afraid of their health, or maybe somebody is afraid of other things that they've always believed. So if we have an open attitude towards them, they should be free to express that. And then it also becomes more of a conversation instead of a dialogue. One of the strongest tools that we use is the Socratic method. I'm sure a lot of people heard about it. We can fill a whole presentation about it, but we're just gonna tip the most important things of it. The Socratic method is named after the Greek philosopher Socrates, and his approach was to not simply share knowledge, but to encourage people to think for themselves through questions. And that is also what we use in our conversations. So instead of directly telling somebody why veganism is right, we ask questions that highlight the contradictions. Often people have values like compassion or justice, but they don't act accordingly when it comes to animals. So by asking these questions, we can lead them to the conclusion of veganism on their own. And examples of those questions are, do you believe that animals feel pain? Do you think it's fair for living beings to suffer when alternatives are available? Or is there a difference between a dog and a pig when it comes to suffering? or you can just simply point to the screen and ask them, what do you feel about this? Or do you think this is fair what we do to them? So there's lots of questions that you can ask, but the important thing is that you ask the other people questions that lead towards the conclusion of veganism. People are more likely to be convinced by things they discover themselves than by things that others tell them. And this is a quote from Blaise Pascal, and it perfectly expresses what we're just talking about. If people come to the conclusion themselves, then they're much more likely to explore more and to think about it more. And that's exactly what the Socratic method is doing. So instead of simply just presenting facts or arguments, we just provide impulses that encourage people to think for themselves. And if that insight that comes from the person themselves, then they're far more likely to stick with those new beliefs than if we just simply tell them to. In able to do that and to have that conversation flowing, it's really important that we use one of the most important skills in our communication, which is active listening. Often we tend to think about what we're going to say next while somebody else is speaking. It's very common. I do it myself too. Somebody's saying something and I'm thinking like how I'm going to respond to it. But if you do that, you're not really truly listening. So we really have to challenge ourselves to listen to what the other person's saying. And true listening means like fully engaging with the other person. You need to be curious about the other person and try to understand where they're coming from, put yourself in their shoes. I wasn't vegan for my whole life. So I can certainly remember that I thought I was a good person and I for sure loved animals for my whole life. So it's good to have a little bit of understanding where they are and listen to what they're saying. And that leaves the door open to deeper and more meaningful conversations. It's really important then that when we talk about veganisms, that we stand confidently behind our message. We don't need to have the answer right away. That's totally okay. There's lots of time people ask you a question and you just don't know the answer. It's really okay to say, yeah, I'll come back to that later. It's also, you'll find a lot of people that are critical of what we're doing, and that's okay too. We are not going to be able to convince everyone with a single conversation. It probably will take a lot more, so don't be discouraged by that. Just make sure that you remain calm and polite, and even wish them a good day if they're not open to an open and constructive conversation. And again, if you don't know the answer to certain questions, you can tell them, hey, look, I'll ask a colleague if he knows or she or they know the answer. Or you can even look it up on your phone or get some resources where they can find certain things. Or I'd be happy to get back to you on that. Can I just note your details? Yeah, sometimes you hear people say things like they're sort of trying to wiggle around it. You can just say it. I don't know the answer. I'll look it up for you. And also, what can really help is to share your personal story, and it can create a connection to the person that you're talking to. Sometimes people are just more inspired by personal experience than by pure facts. And perhaps if maybe they face the same concerns that we had once. Our own journey to veganism can offer other people guidance too, and not as a solution, but as a real and tangible example. So don't be afraid to talk about yourself and what you found difficult when you just became a vegan? Because I hear a lot of people say like veganism is really easy. And that's because we understand it. We made the connection. But a lot of people that we're talking to, they face a lot of difficulties with family, with friends, with culture. So for them, it does maybe seem difficult. So it can really help if you share how you dealt with your family and friends, or maybe at work. Um, and I'm gonna pass it back to you, Lena.
Thank you, Leah. So now let's take a closer look at the key conversation leadership in street outreach. So we talk about the safe square approach. All right. Genau. Before we engage in a conversation with bystanders, we want to give them time to process what they have seen on the screens. Some people just need an extra moment to absorb the material first. And we focus on connecting with people who stop and show genuine interest in the topic, rather than those who just want to pass by and just not really care about whatever is happening here, whatever demo this is, whatever screens showing what. And this allows then for a more meaningful conversation and ensures that we're engaging with those who are really open to discuss, for a discussion, a conversation. So it's really important to not try to stop people and ask them questions, but to focus on those who are already showing signs of interest. And having a clear structure in our conversations can really help guide people from their first impression to meaningful solutions together. So once someone stops, the conversation can begin, but in a way that engages the person without overwhelming them. And a clear structure can help with this. So we try to show you a few steps. So first, we want to focus on establishing a connection. For example, a simple opener like, "Hi, have you seen something like this before?" Showing to the screen that the people have just looked at, that can really open the conversation nicely. Then next comes the exploration phase that we have already discussed a little bit, where we ask questions, as Leah described so greatly. So for example, we can say, "How do you feel about this?" To understand their values and beliefs at play. So we can try to find out what kind of people they are, what they might most likely feel understood by or supported with. Then in the next step, we try to summarize the problem with them and through questions again, suggest possible solutions, especially then when contradictions between beliefs and actions emerge. And that's basically always the case, if we're honest, when you meet people who still hurt and eat animals, but yet, for example, love animals. And then finally, we propose a first step together with them and motivate them to take further steps or continue researching on their own. So if they are interested, we can, for example, think together about next steps or even provide right away more information so that they can continue exploring on their own. And at this stage of the outreach, our goal is to guide the person from recognizing the problem to identifying solutions. So we want to really help them see the steps that they can personally take in their own unique life. And yeah, after sharing information and addressing potential objections, we want to actively involve them in the process. So as always, we really want to engage them and have them almost come up with the solution themselves. So the questions on this slide that you can see in front of you encourage self-reflection and personal realization, following again the Socratic methods that we have just learned about. So instead of giving ready-made answers, we guide them through targeted questions and helping them to think critically themselves and come up with their own ideas. So for example, we can read them out loud. That being said, how do you think we can stop it? Or you could say, for example, what do you think we can do as individuals? What can we do to help the animals, to end this, to change this? Then we can say, if you decided to go vegan, do you think it would be difficult for you? What do you think would be the hardest thing for you? So we already tried to figure out with them what they would need and what guidance we can give them. What has prevented you from taking the step towards veganism until now? What is stopping you from being vegan? So you really, what you can see here is you really want to build a trustworthy relationship where they can also feel free or feel safe to be honest with you in their responses. They want to see you as an ally, as someone who wants to help them and understands them and even has gone through a similar journey before. Some other phrases to summarize could be, what steps have you taken in the past to achieve a challenging goal of yours? So that's really good to look back on. When you quit smoking, you did this and that helped you. Amazing. Maybe we can use this in this scenario as well. And we want to also focus on fostering empathy and compassion. So, for example, if you refer to the companion animals, they are so-called pets, you can ask them, how would you feel if that would be your pet that you love and adore, for example. So we really want to foster that sense of empathy. And at the end of the conversation, creating a sense of commitment can really help build the bridge to the gap for the action. So by asking targeted questions, we can find out if the person is willing to really engage further in the topic and if they have concrete ideas. So again, we want to share with you a few phrases just as ideas or examples. Of course, you can make it your own and you can think of your own ways of summarizing and asking questions, but we just wanted to show you a little bit what we recommend. So for example, does veganism feel more understandable after this conversation? Would maybe watching a documentary on the topic be a possibility for you now? Or after all the points discussed, could veganism be an option for you? And then what could be a first step in this direction? So they can really sense that we are engaged and we really want to help them. Yeah, so in this next step, now let's look into our inner attitude as outreachers and conversation atmosphere. That is really, really important. One shouldn't oversee it. So we want to focus here a little bit on our inner attitude and also our sense of self-care, because how we, approach conversations, both mentally and emotionally, does have a big impact on the outcome of the outreach. And to stay calm and actively listening and being mindful of our body language can really help creating this welcoming and constructive atmosphere for the bystanders, for the people that are learning so many new things. And at the same time, it's also really important to engage in discussions only when we feel balanced. So if, for example, a conversation becomes emotionally challenging, that can happen to the best of us. It can trigger us, or they can just bring up things that we find hard to kind of take and listen to. It's good to also in between take breaks or even stepping back. And it's not just okay to do, but we really recommend it's necessary for your own well-being, and that is so important for your long activism, your sustainable activism for the future. Because also we as outreachers, we want to have good experiences. We want to go home from an outreach event and feel powerful and good, and we want to look back at conversations that made us feel good, that made us feel connected, that made us feel like we have an impact. So if we're really like in a bad mental state, then it's totally fine to support the action taking of the day in a different way. For example, you could be the one carrying a tea for everyone, for every volunteer, and handing out teas or having a good chat in between, giving people a sense of community when they join events. You don't always have to do outreach at every single moment. Please listen always to yourself and follow your own needs as well. That makes you an amazing activist. Yeah, so kindness often achieves more than just being right. Leah has already talked about this. When we need to weigh different aspects in conversation, it's really helpful to always choose or try to choose the most respectful and compassionate approach when talking to people. This does not mean giving up on our beliefs. Actually, on the contrary, because when we, remain firm in our stance, but empathetic in the tone, then we open more doors for genuine conversations. And I think ultimately, this also helps us to stay balanced and motivated in the long term, as I just said. because our inner balance, our feeling of well-being is really essential and such an important foundation for our sustainable activism. We can't say it enough. So we really have to take care of ourselves and be as kind to others as we want to be to ourselves. All right, body language, also really important. Of course, ideally, we would not be on computer screens, but in a shared room together where we could practice body language during outreach. But we have this beautiful seminar like this training like this today. So we will try to cover as best as possible from a little bit afar from you, basically, over the screens. Body language plays a crucial role in our conversations because it can really foster openness and trust, or it can also create distance and discomfort at times. So we have to really make sure that we do the best we can in terms of our body language. Yeah, so in the street outreach, especially, an open and inviting posture begins by not facing the person directly, but instead positioning yourself more slightly to the side of the person. This way, we are neither in a confrontational position, nor do we appear detached or uninterested. Instead, we signal openness and attentiveness. And you can see on the slide, we have those little characters there. You can see that's a little bit the body language that we want to encourage you to find, to kind of stand next to the person, but also looking to them. Very important, respectful distance, which is about an arm's length. That ensures the person feels comfortable and not pressured. I think it is so important for us to really look at the space we create and the way we act, and to respect someone's boundaries and not come too close or even to stand too far away because of other reasons. We really have to find the balance. And for example, an open hand gesture shows that we don't have a defensive posture. We show our hands and we are mindful not to cross our arms, and also keep our hands in a natural, relaxed position. Psychology has shown over and over again that people just automatically feel safer around people who show their hands. It's maybe from back in the days, there's no weapons, nothing that can harm anyone. So that can really help making someone feel more comfortable and wanting to stay in the conversation with you longer. Then our gaze is also important. For example, when looking at material together, we should focus on the screen, but also at the same time periodically make eye contact to establish the connection. It also helps if you, for example, sometimes point out something. So if, for example, you can tell that someone is not paying attention to the video and is trying to avoid looking at what is happening to animals in animal agriculture, then we can sometimes try to get them back to looking at the footage by saying, oh, look here, for example, we can see this and that. That's just a way of making it easier for them to watch it, because they can watch it with you together, which feels way more safer. Finally, it also helps to adjust to the other person. That's also something we learn in body language. And this term that we are using here is mirroring. This means to gently reflect the person's movements or speaking rhythm to create a harmony in the conversation. That's also based on scientific research, on psychology, that if we start mirroring the posture, for example, someone who looks like this, you can also start doing this and saying like, yeah, I can tell. And if, for example, someone talks really fast, then it would be advised to also not talk too slowly, because that could be irritating, that it's a different rhythm that is happening. So we try to jump a little bit on their swing and swing a little bit with them in the way they are already. Now I pass it on to dear Leah, who will tell us about handling objections.
Yes, of course, there's many objections, and we're gonna touch on the most heard, also probably the most annoying ones. There's times that you can really not hear these phrases, but if you're out on the street and doing outreach, these are the objections that you just hear over and over. Eating animals is natural. Plants feel pain. It's, yeah, I see emojis. I can't read the chat, but I see the emojis. You think that we joke about it as vegans, but you get the plants feel pain a lot. You do hear about lions a lot. So we're gonna go phrase by phrase and give you at least one answer that you could give to that objection. And what I did is just memorize it and just spill it out. And also advice from the heart, don't go too deep into these things, because people come up with the weirdest, craziest things, and just get it back to the animals and what they're feeling and what their rights should be. But we are going to touch on them. Wait, I think I sort of jumped a little bit the conclusion, but a tip before we go into that is that you can role play them. If you have a group that you do outreach with, it can really help to practice these things. Also, one thing that we really want to encourage you to read is 30 non-vegan excuses and how to respond. There's actually a book with 30, I want to say a bad word, but like weird excuses to not go vegan. But it's written by Earthling Ads, and it's really it helped me a lot doing outreach. So we want to encourage you to read it. It's an ebook, I think, so you can download it. I don't know what it costs, but I don't think it's costing much. But
Costs nothing. It costs nothing.
costs nothing. Wow, thank you so much, Lena. It's free. Really download it if you have the chance. So eating animals is natural, and a response could be like many things are natural, or that are inside us. Violence is natural in animal life, like it happens a lot, but we choose compassion. Shouldn't we focus on what's compassionate? So that could be something that you can say. Also alert, I respect your opinion, but I don't agree. It's not about opinions. Animals suffer and they die. And is it ethical to cause unnecessary harm? So don't get into a debate on whether that's an opinion, because it's not. It's not our opinion. It's just the truth that animals suffer. And you can give that back to them. As long as you stay friendly and with an open attitude, you can still point out that some things are just not right. The plants feel pain. Plants lack a central nervous system that's necessary to feel pain. No brain, no pain. It's easy to remember. And if you want to dive a little bit more into it, even if they did, eating plants directly causes less harm than feeding them to animals for food, as we would need less plants if we all went vegan. And I also usually say, like, just cut into a cucumber, and it's really not the same as cutting into an animal. And usually people, when you say something like that, they're like, oh yeah, that's true. And there's always that person that has a study that grasp and feel something, and I just smile and wave at those people, because they're not looking for a genuine discussion. They just want to throw you off. And I don't think then you come into the part where you're not getting into a debate. That's a very good moment to close the conversation with somebody, or just let them look at the screen one more time, which I usually do. The caveman, also much heard, and it's just really simple. There's a lot of things that cavemen did different. So yeah, they used to drag women by their hairs and, I don't know, make babies. So I don't think that we should take that for what's right either. The lions, if you're brave enough, you can say, and if it suits in the conversation, I sometimes do it. I say, did you know that lions lick their own ball? And they eat their babies? You can choose either one. But yeah, or just point at your teeth. Like, it's not a lion teeth, right? You know, lions don't cook their food. They don't breed millions and billions of gazelles to package them and put them in a supermarket and then buy them later. And if there's one thing that you can take from this webinar, if the conversation becomes a debate or it becomes a back and forth, just wish them a good day and walk away. Please don't spend your time arguing with people that don't really want to listen, because once you have had those meaningful conversations on the street, you know how it can be and how meaningful it can be to do outreach and how you can really reach and touch somebody's heart. It's really not worth spending like 10 minutes debating somebody. So please don't do that. If you get the feeling like it's going nowhere, just close it and just say, sir, ma'am, person, I wish you a very good day. And then you just move on to the next person. I'm giving it to Lena one more time.
Yes, thank you, Leah. So we did want to mention family and friends, but only briefly, because again, this could be a whole other outreach training. I think we all know, or most of us know, the heartache of what it sometimes takes to discuss with the loved ones, the dear friends, the beloved family. It can be so, so hard to have those vegan conversations with them and try to do outreach with them. So yeah, let's look at it. We wanted to share with you that we believe there is a worse time for having that conversation and there is a better setting, a better circumstance. So the worst time, of course, would be when they are currently eating animals. I think we've all been there, done that. It's not a good moment. It's not the time for them to listen. Of course, they're going to get defensive. They feel uncomfortable and blamed. You get probably most likely emotional because there's a dead animal in front of you. Not a good moment. Also, when there's already a group event, let's say a Christmas dinner or a family birthday or best friend's wedding, then it's not a good moment to have that really, really dear and important conversation about why you choose to be vegan and want anyone and everyone to be vegan too for the animals and the planet. There are better settings, better circumstances that we want to, however, share with you. So, for example, it would be great if the conversation partner is willing to talk to you and doesn't feel like forced or restricted to. So it could be really beneficial to arrange a meeting specifically to discuss something important. And we really recommend for you to choose a place, for example, a vegan cafe, or maybe your home or a place outdoors, anywhere where they cannot accidentally or intentionally buy coffee with cow's milk, let's say. So you set the setting, you try to make yourself as comfortable as possible with little or no harm to animals as possible. And also we recommend to have those really important conversations more one-on-one and not in a group setting where other people are there as well and they might then jump in and have their own 5 cents about it. So yeah, it's a really complex topic because emotions run so high. There's nothing, I think, more important to us than that our loved ones that we respect and think so highly of, that they also follow through and be vegan. But yet with that importance comes pressure, comes stress. And so it's really about choosing a good moment and to maybe also try to focus more on the lower hanging fruits, where it's maybe easier for you to make an impact, and the time investment and the investment of your emotions and your psychological well-being is maybe not so much at risk as with the dear ones. But on to very positive things, because that was a bit of a heavy topic. We want to share that you can use your outreach knowledge now also for the 100 Cafe campaign that the Animal Safe Movement and Plant-Based Treaty focus on a lot. Because it really offers a great opportunity to apply your outreach knowledge directly. Because in this campaign, for those of you who maybe don't know just yet, we do approach cafes and restaurants or canteens to make plant-based options more visible, for example, through stickers that we bring, or make menu changes. We just want to bring change into a city, and so we go to as many restaurants and places we can go to and make changes. And So yeah, how can you apply your hopefully new learned outreach skills directly in practice? The first step that we do with the 100 Cafe campaign is to approach cafes or restaurants, and we do that in a very friendly manner. We ask about maybe vegan options or the placement of stickers, if they would be happy to have the stickers that we brought. For example, a sticker can say we offer plant-based options, or we have plant milks, or we are a vegan, full-on vegan establishment. And so what we've learned today, also our body language helps with this, with getting things done in our favor, basically. So a welcoming posture, a relaxed gestures help to keep the conversation positive and a great experience. And to initiate change, we can also offer concrete solutions. For example, we want to offer making plant-based milk cheaper than cow's milk, or making plant-based milk the default in the place, or adding new, more vegan dishes to the menu. And what we really want to recommend here again is to look not only at yourself, but also as your team of activists, because it's a beautiful way of meeting with your team and colleagues. And again, practice together in role playing. So you can, prepare a little bit for possible reactions of the coffee owners or the staff who is gonna respond to you. And afterwards, you can also, in the team, after you have gone out and talk to people in cafes, you can afterwards come together, share your experiences, and also become more confident in the outreach when you exchange your ideas and your experiences. So yeah, we really want to invite you to all try it for the 100 Cafe campaign. It's so beautiful, and it's really, from all the outreach we've done, it's one of the really more successful ones, or like positive experiences, because it's so easy for people to make like at least minor changes. And usually cafes, for example, are really happy to be able to promote their place with a sticker that might invite a new audience, or people who didn't know that there was a plant milk or what have you. So yeah, we wish you good luck with that, and we really want to hear how the outreach is going. Of course, in safe squares, on the streets, wherever you go, but also with the 100 Cafe campaign, we are really, really interested. And also for the annual vigil that is happening soon, you can of course always try to do an outreach at a safe vigil event, because there are bypassers, there are people who maybe come by and look at what is happening there. So you always have an opportunity to share why you're there, to share the animal stories, and you can really, with any conversation you have, you can practice what you've learned. And I think Leah now will try to summarize one more time what we have discussed today, and then we can go further and see if there are any open questions or statements.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think we're, for once, doing really good on the time management today. But yes, let's summarize a little bit what we discussed today. I think one of the most important takeaways is to stay calm and rational, but also positive and open. Your attitude influences how veganism is perceived. So we are advocates for veganism, and by being friendly and open, but also firm in our message, I think that can go a long way in changing how people see veganism. Also as a way that's not about food, but that's really about the rights of animals to not be exploited or killed. For that, we need to show empathy and understanding. Yeah, many of us had similar beliefs once. Don't forget that. Like, only a few people were really born vegan. It took me, I don't know, 33 years to come to the realization, which I'm really not proud of, but keep that in mind, that you had a road to go as well. Use active listening, and yeah, be approachable. People are more likely to open up if they don't feel judged or shamed. Ask questions instead of giving answers to people. The Socratic method helps to recognize contradictions in beliefs that people have, and you can really ask them and make them come to their own conclusions. Use logic and examples. Questions like, is there a humane way to kill an animal? And just explore that question and let people answer that. Encourage to reflect on that, on questions like that. And then last but not least, practice. It takes, I don't know, maybe a couple of years or at least months to really become confident in being out on the street. It will get better. You will find much easier ways to deal with people. Or I think what Lena said was really important, that you learn to mirror people's way of being. And if you do that a lot, you get much better. You start to recognize when you talk too fast or too slow, because people are start to look away, or they become uncomfortable, and you learn to recognize that when you do this a lot. And also, it's really not bad to make mistakes. I've had outreach conversations where I thought, oh my God, did I really say that? Those are the things that I can still lay awake, like, oh my God, I said that once. It's okay. You learn as you go, and you fall and you get up. So don't be discouraged if conversation doesn't go well, or you say something that you think, oh, I shouldn't have said that. It's okay. And if there's any questions, I think this is the time. I briefly checked in the chat, and I saw that one question about the book of Earthling Ed. I think I put that in the chat already. The link. So feel free to visit that page and download the book, or at least check out the 30 excuses. Some questions about the microphone. I haven't heard anybody except for Lena, so I think it was off. I don't know if there's any other questions. Feel free to ask.
Yeah, we could maybe stop sharing the screen, and then maybe this way, I don't know if it's possible to see each other. So
I don't think so, but we can, I think, open the microphone
okay.
if somebody wants to. Oh,
Maybe
another question, but I hope you do more of these. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, well, we would love to. If there's a certain topic that we can speak about, I think we also would love to do this more often. Right, Lena?
yes, absolutely. Yes, we love it.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice.
Thank you for the feedback, everyone. Again, it's, like
Oh, a new vegan. Yay.
you're vegan. Oh, wow. That's beautiful to see. Oh,
Oh, that's so nice. It's so cool to see that new vegans join still. Like, we're growing and we're getting somewhere. And hopefully we can all help each other to grow as a movement. And really appreciate everybody's time to listen to us.
yes, absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicholas. That's amazing. Oh,
Thank you, Nicholas. Beautiful. Yeah, and feel always free to reach out to the global team, to us. The community is so loving and so inspirational. And I think, especially for the newer vegans, like to meet other people who care so deeply about those so important topics, the most important topics in our lives. It's such a game changer. It changes lives, no? Like I think the world just opened when I met all these vegan activists, and it's so beautiful to work together, but also to exchange and to learn from each other. And as we said, like to practice in teams, to make it fun, to make it a game, even to, hang out and meet and say like, so caveman, what do you think? And then who is the fastest with a response? You can really, yeah, make activism fun as well. Sometimes it needs to be also fun.
yeah. And take the breaks if you need that. We lost a lot of activists because they thought they needed to be there and the animals have it worse. But that's like, I don't know, 10 years ago called, and they want their methods back. We really need to take care of ourselves.
Yes, it's really important to know that we believe that the people we know who are really great and successful with outreach, we know that they have taken breaks. We took breaks. Our dear colleagues take breaks. It's the thing you do nowadays, not so much in the past maybe, but it's really self-care in order to be able to have like really sustainable activism. And we have to first and foremost be okay ourselves as much as possible in these crazy times. It's of course hard. Yeah.
Okay, and somebody asked if we can share the slides. I don't know if that's possible. Can we do that? I'm looking at our dear moderators. Maybe we can.
Most likely, I think that this webinar has been recorded. That was a bit scary,
Yeah.
but it's apparently gonna be out there. So for sure, one can look at it again or send it to dear colleagues. But also, I don't see why we couldn't share the
And if otherwise just send us an email and then we'll make sure that we send it to you. If it can be done automatically and you really want the slides, then please just contact us through the website and then we make sure that you get all the information. Okay, greeting from Oslo, yay.
Yeah, exactly. These are our email addresses. Thank you for putting them in.
Okay.
And if there are no further questions, then we can say goodbye and thank you for joining.
Yes.
And good luck with all your outreach that you will do
Yes.
from now on.
Please don't forget to participate in our global days. There is a lot coming up. I think you can find them on the website as well. It would be great to see everybody out on the streets. And
Yes.
good weekend.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck and thank you.